Hi, welcome to Ever Evolving. I'm Marina P. Thanks for stopping by. I'm so glad that you're here. On my channel, I talk about skincare, beauty, fragrance, food, travel, faith, fitness, well-being, and everything in between. Today, I'm sharing my experience with online dating. All of my dates were lunch dates. The men never came to my home, they never picked me up, they never dropped me off. I never went to their home. We always met in public for lunch. My experience with online dating happened about 7 or 8 years ago, and the way that it started is I had a friend who was also a single woman who had been doing online dating for a while. One day she asked if that was something that I had ever done. I said, "Girl, I haven't even thought about doing that." After a little conversation, she had convinced me to give it a try. So here's how it went. I checked out several online dating sites and decided to go with Plenty of Fish, aka Plenty of Fools. If you know, you know. I created a profile, uploaded my picture, and before long, men started DMing me. After looking through the profiles of the men who had reached out to me, I decided to start talking to a man named Mark. Mark was from California, and he was about 2 years older than I was. He had recently moved to the Dallas area because of his job. Mark was a social worker with the VA. Mark was laid back, easygoing, and down to earth. After a few conversations, we agreed to meet at a Chinese restaurant that wasn't far from where I was living. On my way to the restaurant, I received a text from Mark letting me know that he was already inside the restaurant. As soon as I walked in, Mark was standing there waiting for me. He gave me a great big hug, and then we were seated. While we ate, we talked, we laughed, and we had a really, really great time. After the date, Mark gave me a big hug, gave me a kiss on the cheek, and said that he would give me a call. Mark and I talked several more times, and we had always said that we were going to get together again, but his workload just seemed to be so much that we were never able to. After Mark, I met a man named Reese. I don't remember where Reese was from, but Reese was about 5 years younger than I was, and I had decided that the youngest I wanted to go was 5 years. Reese worked in some kind of a corporate job. Reese was super funny. We had a great time, but we were definitely more on a friendship vibe. It was definitely more a homeboy, homegirl, which was cool. I mean, we both enjoyed that because we were able to just chit chat about any and everything. So Reese and I did that for a while, and then it just kind of stopped. After Reese, I met a man named Will. Will was my age, super good looking. He was a PE teacher. He was into sports, and he was sweet. After talking to him for a while, we decided to meet at a sports bar kind of restaurant kind of vibe. I had gotten to the restaurant before Will, and I texted him to let him know, and he said he was about 10 minutes out to go ahead and get a table. So I asked for a table that was positioned to where I could see the door really well. So I sat at the table facing the door so that I could see when Will walked in. A few minutes later, Will walked into the restaurant. He looked around, and I waved my hand in the air. He came over, I stood up, we gave each other a hug. He sat down, we placed our order, and we began talking. The more that Will started talking in person, the more that I started to understand that that man wasn't my cup of tea. He was a little boring for me. And what I mean is, he was definitely a sports head. Like, all he wanted to talk about was sports, which was interesting because when we talked on the phone, he kind of talked about sports a little bit, but when we were in person, that's all that man seemed to know. And unfortunately, I'm just not that big of a sports girl. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a good football game, a good basketball game, a good UFC match, a good boxing match, but I'm just not a sports head. So Will and I enjoyed our lunch. We hugged each other. I think we talked maybe a couple of more times, and then that was the end of that. After Will, I met a man named Reggie. Now, Reggie was about 10 years older than me. And I'll be honest, at first I was a little reluctant only because I didn't want to go any older than maybe 5 years. But he had a great personality and I enjoyed his conversation. So after talking for a while, we decided to meet up for lunch at Chili's. Reggie was a native of Dallas, an entrepreneur who had his own mobile car washing business. So when I got to Chili's, Reggie was waiting for me at the door. He was waiting. That man had a bouquet of flowers in his hand and he was waiting for me. I walked up to him. He gave me a great big hug. He gave me the flowers. He grabbed my hand and we walked into the restaurant. After we were seated and placed our order, we just talked and we laughed. He was definitely charming and sweet. We really had an awesome date. At the end of the date, he hugged me goodbye, kissed me on my cheek, and he said that he would give me a call. And I said great, because I really did enjoy our date and was looking forward to seeing him again. A couple of days went by and then a week. So I decided to reach out to Reggie. I texted him, I never heard back from him. I called. He never answered the phone. So I just kind of let it go. I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not his cup of tea, and that's okay. And then out of the blue, Reggie called me. He apologized and said, I'm sorry that I didn't answer my phone when you called. I really wasn't able to. And I'm sorry that I haven't responded to your text message. But let me tell you why. So Reggie went on to explain that the day after our date, he ended up having a stroke and he landed in the hospital. I told Reggie that I understood and I hoped that he would get better soon and he would be able to go home. And then before I knew it, this man started giving me a laundry list of everything that was wrong with him medically. I found out in that conversation that he was diabetic, that he had high blood pressure, he had arthritis and neuropathy. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you had all this going on with your health. Reggie said, yeah, I do, but I'm managing the best that I can. And then in his next breath, he asked if I would be interested in going on a second date after he came out of the hospital. I respectfully declined. I told Reggie that I thought he was a great person. I enjoyed our date, but that I was not interested in going on a second date with him. Because in all honesty, the man didn't need a date. He needed a nurse. He needed a nurse, not a date. And I wasn't going to be that nurse. Now, for the piece de resistance. Child, look, I saved the best story for last. Kenneth, I met a man named James. James was about 7 years older than I was. I can't remember where James was from, but he was the supervisor for an electric company. He was in charge of a team who went all over the state of Texas whenever power went out and they had a very hard time restoring it. James was sweet, he was charming, he was witty, and he was down to earth. And that's something that I really enjoyed about him, was that he just seemed to be very genuine. James and I had only talked a couple of times when he reached out to me one weekend. This particular weekend, James was at one of his sister's homes. He was very close to his siblings, and they would get together often just to kind of hang out, cook out, play spades, dominoes, that kind of thing. James had invited me to come to his sister's house, but I wasn't quite ready for that. As James and I are talking, I can hear one of his sisters say, who are you talking to? And he said, oh, I'm talking to Marina, the one that I told you about that I met on the dating site. So the next thing I know, his sister came over and took his phone out of his hands, and she begins talking to me. She's like, hey girl, I'm so-and-so, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing well, thank you, how are you? She's like, oh, I'm doing good. I don't know if James told you about this gathering, but you're welcome to come over if you'd like. And I said, oh, I appreciate it, thank you so much, but I'm not going to be able to do so today. She said, oh, okay, honey. James showed us your picture. We think you're beautiful and we hope to meet you soon. I said, thank you so much. You're so kind. She gives the phone back to James, and I told him to enjoy his time with his family, and then we could talk later on. Later on that night, James gives me a call, and he kind of recaps his day, and he asks how my day went and what all I did. And then he tells me that his family is having a reunion in about 2 weeks, and asks if I would like to go. That comment didn't give me pause. It gave me stop. Like complete stop. I said, I'm not ready to meet your family or go to a family reunion because I'm not even ready to meet you yet. He said, oh yeah, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I can come pick you up, and on the drive, we can just talk and get to know each other more and spend time together. And then we'll get to the reunion and I'll introduce you to everybody. Child, I couldn't hang that phone up fast enough. I couldn't block his number. I couldn't delete it quick enough. Not only was that the end of James, but that was also the end of Marina doing online dating. Honey, look, it didn't take anything else to let me know that this is not for me, period. But what about you? Have you done any online dating? Is it something that you've ever considered? Leave a comment and let me know. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Keep evolving.